Hey, welcome to the PoshSaga STR Academy. If you're thinking about launching your first short-term rental, or maybe you just want to get better at running the one you already have, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to give you the fundamentals to build a real, professional business right from day one.
All right, let's just dive right in. No messing around. Here is the single most important question you need to ask yourself, starting right now. Are you looking at your property as just another listing, or are you ready to treat it like a real business?
You know, it is so easy to fall into this trap. A lot of people think this whole thing is just about getting a place, taking a few pictures with your phone, and then just waiting for those booking notifications to pop up. And honestly, that's where most people's thinking stops.
But that's just scratching the surface. It's really just the tip of the iceberg. And if you stop there, you miss everything happening underneath the water. All the stuff that actually makes a business profitable and sustainable for the long haul. Because here's the truth. A high-performing short-term rental is a real complex business. You got to think of it like a machine with all these different gears that have to mesh together perfectly. And getting that right from the very beginning, well, that's the secret sauce.
It all starts with hospitality. And I'm not just talking about clean sheets and a couple of towels. This is about creating a genuine five-star experience. Get this wrong, and you're just another rental fighting over who's cheapest. But get it right, you build a brand that people absolutely rave about.
Then we've got pricing. Oh man, this is a huge piece of the puzzle. Seriously, bad pricing is probably the #1 way hosts leave money on the table. A winning strategy is so much more than just guessing a price for a weekend night.
And of course, there's operations. This is the engine that makes the whole thing run. Without solid, repeatable systems for cleaning, maintenance, and guest communication, you don't really have a business. You've got a stressful, chaotic hobby that's going to burn you out fast. So what holds all of this together? Smart, strategic decision-making. This is what truly separates the pros from the amateurs. It's about knowing your numbers, understanding your market, and making choices that build long-term value, not just quick cash. Okay, I get it. That probably sounds like a lot. So the big question is, how do you actually get a handle on all these moving parts? Well, that is exactly why we're here. We've laid out a really clear step-by-step path to guide you through it all. We've broken this whole journey down into 4 clear stages. First, we're going to start with the foundation, making sure your property is a perfect fit for the right kind of guest. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of setup and creating a killer listing. After that, we'll master the engine room, pricing and operations. And finally, we'll look to the future with growth and scaling. The philosophy that guides this entire series is something we call the PoshSaga method. And it's actually pretty simple. It's where that warm, guest-first hospitality thinking smashes right into cold, hard, practical business strategy. When you get those two things working together, that's where the magic really happens.
So who is this for exactly? Well, we designed this specifically for property owners, especially if you're just planning your very first rental. But it's also for managers, for investors, really for anyone who wants to operate like a top-tier professional. The goal is to give you that foundational mindset right from day one.
All right, let's talk about the most powerful tool you have in your arsenal, your mindset. Because I promise you, making that shift in your head from just being a property owner to being a business owner, that changes literally everything. And what's on this slide is so important. Look, having a good property, a great location, some nice furniture, that's just the ticket to get in the game. That's the bare minimum. A strong business, on the other hand, takes that same great property and wraps it in smart positioning, dynamic pricing, and a guest experience they'll never forget. That's the real difference maker.
And this quote right here just nails it. This isn't just some abstract idea. The folks who really get this business-first mindset from the get-go, they are the ones who consistently make smarter, more profitable decisions down the road. It's a huge competitive advantage.
Okay, a quick but very important note. Everything we talk about here is for educational purposes. We're covering best practices that work all over the world, but your local laws, taxes, permits, they can be completely different from one town to the next. So please do your homework and double-check your local requirements.
So, if you only take one single thing away from this introduction, let it be this. Real, long-term success in this game doesn't come from luck or having a nice view. It comes from understanding and running this like the serious business that it is. And that brings us right back to where we started. So before you move on to the next part of the Academy, I want you to just pause for a second and ask yourself that question, honestly. Am I just trying to manage a listing, or am I ready to build a real business? Because that choice right there is going to define your entire journey.